I have a We Are the They member, a good friend of mine, the man that did my Zen garden, but also the guy that was hired to pave over Charlie Kirk's scene. So we got a very fascinating human being, Mr. Dan Merrill. Dude, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Let's just kind of cover this Charlie Kirk stuff first.
Okay.
And then I want to kind of get into more of your story and some other stuff like that. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast, I mean, it's just fascinating. That was probably one of the 3 or 4 most impactful moments of our lives as far as, you know, a national event goes. And you got thrust right into the middle of it.
Yeah.
So what exactly was your role? What happened? How did that all come about for you to be the person they called? I mean, I think, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, you haven't really told your story, but you've been getting a lot of like death threats and people that think you're part of the conspiracy. And I just wanted to kind of really get into how that all happened for you.
Sure. Well, so interestingly enough, I came and met with you about your Zen garden. That was right when it happened. I was on my way back to my shop in Provo, and I saw 6 different precincts flying past me in the commuter lane.
For a long time, the paving job looked like nothing more than routine cleanup, but that changed when the man hired to do the work started speaking publicly, because according to discussions now spreading online, the more people listened to what he said about the timing, the instructions, and the urgency surrounding the project, the more Erika Kirk's name kept finding its way back into the conversation. And now people are asking a question that refuses to go away. Why was there such a rush to change the scene before so many questions had been answered? What makes this story unusual is that the person drawing attention wasn't a politician, an investigator, or even someone involved in public commentary. It was a contractor. For a long time, Dan Merrill was barely part of the conversation at all. Most people following discussions surrounding Charlie Kirk's death were focused on larger questions, larger personalities, and larger controversies. Dan was simply the guy hired to do a job. At least that's how he saw it. According to his public statements, when the work first came his way, nothing immediately stood out. Construction projects happen every day, deadlines happen every day, urgent requests happen every day.
I like to be useful, you know, where I can be help. You know, so I texted the guy. I said, look, I don't work on Sundays. My guys don't work on Sundays. You know, I'm happy to call you on Monday. What's a paver emergency? So he sends me pictures of right where Charlie was murdered. And he says, we need to put pavers in this place. So I called him, and the guy seemed like a genuine good dude. He says, you know, look, we don't have a whole lot of answers. We're told by, you know, people above us that we've got to put pavers in, you know, today and tomorrow. It needs to be in by Monday. And we've never done pavers. We've never installed them. And we want to make sure we do it right. And he says, would you come help? I said, 100%. So I went and got I got my trailer. I started calling my guys, and none of my guys answered. And so I started calling my other guys, you know, my brothers. And then I called another, you know, so I put together this ragtag team.
But what Dan didn't realize at the time was that people would eventually start examining that job far more closely than he ever expected. And months later, that's exactly what's happening. The reason isn't necessarily what he did, it's when he did it. Because once Dan began discussing the timeline publicly, viewers started looking at his story differently, not as a construction project, but as a sequence of decisions. People started focusing on how quickly everything moved, how quickly work was requested, preparations were made, attention shifted away from the location itself, and before long, a contractor's story had become part of a much larger debate. That's where things started getting complicated, because Dan wasn't presenting himself as someone with all the answers. If anything, his comments sounded more like someone looking back at an experience and realizing that people had questions he never considered when the job was happening. That distinction matters, because people tend to react differently when someone isn't making accusations, but is simply describing what they remember. And that's exactly why his comments spread. The more details he shared about the schedule, the preparation, and the urgency surrounding the work, the more viewers began comparing his account to other events happening around the same time. Some say the place should have been left as a permanent memorial to Charlie.
The courtyard where it all happened, it's now open to the public again. There's lots of people coming here, planting flowers, cards, things like that. The university is already making some changes. They're replacing the grass where Charlie Kirk was speaking with pavers. And there are several petitions online asking the school to make this into a permanent memorial.
As one online user puts it, if that was an actual crime scene, nothing should have been touched or removed. Then another commenter said, so JFK's grassy knoll goes untouched for years, but within a month, Charlie Kirk's space gets a reno. That's when a familiar name started reappearing, Erika Kirk. Not because Dan claimed she personally directed every step of the project, but because online discussions kept circling back to the same broader question. Who was making important decisions during that period? And perhaps more importantly, how quickly were those decisions being made? The timeline became the story, not the concrete, equipment, not the construction itself, but the timeline. Because once people started lining up events side by side, many felt like they were looking at something different than they had originally assumed. Leadership changes, public appearances, statements, and memorial planning, organizational decisions, TPU SA internal calls. Viewed separately, each event looked ordinary enough. Viewed together, critics argued they appeared unusually concentrated within a short period of time.
There you go.
Oh, look at all the thumbs up. Look how cute that is. Sorry, this is a little bit more informal than probably Charlie would be reacting. How sweet. I didn't know they could do that. I hate Zoom. I never like Zoom. Sorry, you guys. I just wanted to say first and foremost, my heart obviously is broken for you guys as much as it is for our family. You guys lost not only a boss, but someone that you looked up to, someone that you believed in his mission, that you also that you loved. You loved listening to his show. You loved hearing his wisdom on things. I'm sure some of you have also had very personal moments of where you sat down.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going, I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study?
This is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
No, and I know you're going to keep saying that, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer, but yeah. I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but been backwards for this organization, and the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
It's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
no, I understand. It's time to.
So do I get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody? Or
nope.
No, and there's no explanation as to why I'm going to let go.
Right now, we're leaving all.
You know, and you're going to keep saying a different direction, but I'm trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my.
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave property?
Yes.
Due to what, Frank?
Because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat in this chair.
You're gonna do great things.
No, and I plan to.
I don't think you're being tossed out. I think you're very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. At this time, it's time for you to go.
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming from.
This feels completely without emotion.
Whether that interpretation is fair remains heavily debated, but it's one reason the conversation continues. Then another shift happened. People stopped focusing solely on what Dan did. Instead, they began focusing on what Dan thought afterward. According to his public comments, he initially brushed aside much of the speculation surrounding the project. From his perspective, he had completed the work he was hired to perform, end of story. But over time, after hearing more discussion and seeing public reaction, he became increasingly willing to revisit questions that others were asking.
Why do you think they excavated so much dirt? You think that they were trying to make sure they got any bullet fragments or anything that was in there?
I wasn't looking at it with that lens, dude.
Really?
I wasn't.
It didn't even cross your mind?
It didn't cross my mind. Here's the thing. You were saying stuff on social media. Everybody's saying stuff on social media.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I got so disheartened with social media because they just spin everything and they talk and fear mongering and hate sells. And I didn't want to see it. I knew there was videos out there. Right when I pulled into town, when it happened, I Googled it and I saw the video from afar, right? Of Charlie getting shot. I thought, man, I don't want to see that shit. This guy got shot. You see it, you know he's probably dead or dying, right? I don't want to see somebody murdered, especially a good man, a father and a husband. So I hadn't been on social media. I had stayed away from it. My wife had been on it and she was a wreck, bro. She was just, all that ugliness was just. So when I got the call, I thought, you better believe it. I'm going to go help. That was all it was. I'm going to go help these guys. He's asking for help. They want to do it right. He framed it in the sense that, hey, we want this to be done right. So that's why I showed up. So the first guy, the second guy that I hadn't talked to on the phone basically said, hey, look, we're not talking to anybody. We're not saying anything to the media. He says this is above our pay grade. The FBI and the state, the governor and the FBI, that's what they told me. The governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday and we need to get it done. We're not asking questions. We're not talking to the media. And so I said, okay. So I just, that's kind of my MO is, I've been in so many car wrecks and I got a rollover when I was 17 and there was 3 girls in the car. I broke my back in 3 places, got a traumatic brain injury, but I didn't have my seatbelt on. I wrecked. We rolled down the freeway. So we worked until night and, basically until dark. And then we came back the next morning and started getting it installed.
Was there anything that happened afterwards, like any weirdness? Did you start getting people calling you or texting you trying to get more 100%. Of the story? Like what happened then? Well,
no, not, I think there was, the thing that felt fishy to me was after it happened, and I saw, at that point, a few people had kind of accused me of being a part of the cover up. And I thought, so I started watching the videos. I started getting on Facebook and I'm like, well, maybe I was. Sake. Yeah, and I really started questioning.
That evolution caught people's attention because viewers often become interested when someone's perspective appears to change, not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually. And once that happened, Dan's role in the story expanded. Suddenly, he wasn't just a contractor. He became someone whose observations were being examined alongside everyone else's. That's when commentators like Candace Owens entered the discussion. Rather than focusing exclusively on the paving itself, they pointed to a broader series of events surrounding the aftermath. Candace insists that Charlie found out something that cost him his life.
What did Charlie find out? Charlie found something out. That's it, guys. Charlie found something out and it cost him his life. That's the truth. Okay? Charlie knew something. And whatever it is big and it is ugly. And deep down, I think we know what it is. I think we all kind of know what it is. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say.
The argument wasn't necessarily about one specific action. It was about patterns, the speed of certain decisions, the timing of certain announcements, and the way attention appeared to move from one topic to another. Supporters saw normal responses during a difficult period. Critics saw something else. And that's where the divide remains today, because stories like this rarely continue from evidence alone, but because people interpret the same timeline differently. One side sees coincidence, another side sees coordination. One side sees ordinary decision-making, another sees unanswered questions, and trust the online community been talking really loud. One online user said, "What's the rush for?" Another was blunt, "This is insane." We all knew it, but to hear it from the dude who covered up the scene and it was the FBI that ordered it, not the university, that's F it off. Obviously, our greatest ally. Yet another wrote, "He is hiding something." And somewhere in the middle sits Dan Merrill, a contractor who probably never expected a paving project to become part of an ongoing public debate. Yet here we are, months later, people are still talking about the job, discussing the timeline, debating the decisions, and comparing pitting one event against another, and perhaps that's the most interesting part of all. Not that the project happened, but so many people remain convinced the timing around it deserves a closer look. So what do you think? Did a routine construction project become controversial simply because of the circumstances surrounding it? Or does the fact that people keep revisiting the timeline suggest there are still questions that haven't been fully answered? Why does this particular detail continue resurfacing while so many others have faded away? And if the paving job was never supposed to become part of the story, why are people still talking about it today? Drop your take in the comments. Let's get this convo going, because this story is far from over. And if you thought this was wild, click the next video to dive even deeper.